kind of messing around, providing textures. Then we did the breakdown, which took us quite a long time to get right, because it involved a lot of automation between different parts, which are all here. It's these parts here, and that's pretty much it. That making up the breakdown. So what it is it's pretty much loads of different soft synths combined together and filtered, so that they're kind of getting brighter and brighter across this 8 bars or 16 bars. I think we used a lot of FMA for this, and just a lot of filters and as you can see, a lot of automation. So these will be
filtering in
these
everything
here
kind
will be
of together.
These will be the breakdown parts. So each one you can see has different filters on it, I mean different automation settings, and what you want to do is just try and get them all so they complement each other, so that as one's going down the other's going up, and all sorts of different patterns that you can like implement to make it sound cool. This is just an example of one of the parts of the breakdown. Bit of distortion and resonant filter, very high resonance setting. So that's pretty much it. You know, once we nailed the breakdown, we showed you how we did the drop. We just whacked it before the drop. What we wanted to do was just to make it so that we had different sections that weren't using the vocal. So we created a couple of sections which don't feature the vocal.
You can't keep the vocal running the whole way through because it just gets boring and loopy, so we had to find other samples and other nice kind of melodies to complement the piano chords and the bass. So we added like a guitar loop.
Yeah. So this would be the guitar loop coming in now.
This kind of strummy guitar loop that adds a kind of more sort of melancholic feel to the loop. So it's kind of changing the vibe slightly as well, which we like to try and do in our tunes, is try and like bring in as many different vibes as possible within kind of one tune.
And then we had little things coming in and out, like this string here. All those little parts kind of help us to create different sections, from which point we can go back and just structure it all up so that it rolls nicely for people on the dance floor and for the listener.
The more sections and different sounds and samples you have, the easier you'll find it to finish your tracks. You'll have different things to switch between, so it's not always constantly on one, looping just on one.
Yeah,
thing.
What we try and do when we make a tune is we actually take it into...
we work on just like loads of sounds
we work
individually, and then we bring those sounds together, find the best sounds, and that's a really good way of finishing the track.
So we work on separate setups, and we come up with different ideas and then bring them all back together.
So when Danny Bird came over to do Gold Rush, we had 3 different computers. We were all working on sounds at the same time, and it was a really good way of working and getting things done, and we all came together at the end. We got like a basic loop to work over, like a basic key, and then we all came up with different sounds, ideas, and once we pulled those sounds and ideas together, the whole thing came together really a lot easier than it would have done if we were just working on one computer.
I mean, I think the key is we always start with the main sort of idea and the groove, and then we try and work different sections out of that. So we always look at it as a progressive thing, like, yeah, we've got that main idea now, we need to firstly fill out that main idea, so that sounds really good, but also be able to progress from that and go into other sections. So we prioritise trying to get different sections of our music that we can bring back and structure in the best way we see that we can envisage it. So with mixdowns, we basically want to play the track and listen as carefully as possible to try and get the parts to fit together as best we can. So one thing we like to do is open the mixer up and create an extra sort of graphic interface on top of the mixer that we can reference to. So that way we can see where each sound is peaking, and we can try and make things, for example, the kick and the snare, as level as possible. And we can just scroll through and see if anything's particularly loud.
Sticking out.
So these are loud, but those are the sidechain signals, so those are okay. And so generally we try and get the kind of wall of sound effect where, with a lot of EQing, we mix all the pad sounds and all the musical elements together quite carefully, and generally try and separate them in terms of frequency from the vocal as far as possible. And we went through the whole frequency spectrum thing for the drums as well. If you get that right and you get the bass right, and
that's half the battle won, I guess.
That's half the battle won, yeah.
If you get that stuff right.
It's just very careful attention to detail in terms of levels.
Obviously, as you're making the track, it's not something you do all right at the end, right at the last minute. It's something we're conscious of the whole way through the process. So I think it's something you have to have in the back of your mind the whole time. Even when we start writing a track, we're thinking, what key is that track in? How's that going to work if the bass is in C? It's just something you always have to think of when you're approaching making drum and bass.
Not that you should let it drive what you do. I mean, the key thing is obviously to come up with ideas that you think are good, but sometimes stuff's just not going to work if the elements don't go together, in terms of if you've got two major elements of the tune and they're taking up the same frequency band or range of frequencies, then you're not going to be able to put them on top of each other. So it's quite important to think in terms of where are you looking to put the element that you're working on. And
yeah,
I think that's pretty much the most important thing about writing drum and bass, and EQing it so that it fits with the sound that it has to go with at that point. So a lot of the times you're going to have to duplicate certain tracks and have different EQ settings on the same sound for different parts of the tune, so that sound will work with other sounds better.
Also, like in an intro, if you've got a sample with a bit of low end that's not going to work over the drop when the bass is running underneath it, you can put that on a different track so you can hear a bit of those low frequencies in the intro, which sound nice, but obviously you don't want it muddying up your bass on the drop, so that's another instance where we'll create a different track.
And then there's another instance where you copy your drums to the intro and they just don't sound right, they sound a bit too loud or too hitsy, so you've got to duplicate the tracks and turn them down and stuff, or just turn the gains down on the track. So you've got to be conscious of it the whole time, and just keep your mind focused on getting the idea, but also getting the idea mixed downable so that everything can fit together. So we've pretty much taken you through all the techniques, processes that we use to make our tunes.
Giving away all our magic secrets for you lucky people at home.
So yeah, get producing.
Send us your tunes.
Yeah, send us all your tunes.